Okay, so welcome, gorgeous women, to a chat, an evening where we get to talk about all the glorious ins and outs, the ugly side, the fun side of being a Yoni massage practitioner of my life. And I wanted to do this because there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. There's a lot to it that isn't I guess, portrayed in the social media side or in the, even just the side that I put out there. And there's a lot that happens just because of the society we live in, our thoughts and beliefs and the way that we were raised and brought up, and just the basic controversy of what this work actually is. And I just love it so much that I just want it to become everyday conversation. And that's why I want to hold these things, so that we can just come into these spaces and talk about it and ask questions and just learn shit. Because one of the biggest things with our society is if something's taboo, we know nothing about it, or we know very little about it. There's so little education. So people just continue to walk through the dark on these things, and they just kind of think that's normal, or this is normal and that's okay, so let's just do that. But actually there's a whole lot more to know about it. So I just really want to keep creating platforms and spaces where we can come and talk about these things. So feel free at any point in time to unmute yourself, jump in, ask a question. You can type in the comments, but feel free just to unmute yourself and jump in. That's totally okay. Feel free to interrupt me at any time. And no question is a silly question, a dumb question, too shameful, too embarrassing. Nothing. Doesn't exist. Feel free to ask whatever you want about me, about my personal life, about the work, anything. Nothing is off limits in this session. I may regret saying that, but I'm here, all in 100%. Shanae, yes, I can see you're giggling whilst you're cooking dinner. Okay, when do I get a hug? Well, Angelique, I don't know, you might have to come to Bali. Okay, so I want to start by telling you how I came to do this work. Because that, of course, is the beginning for anyone who does this. So I have, as most of you probably know, I have been a midwife for over 10 years, and that was a very big passion for me, and it was something that I lived and breathed and did endlessly, committed to, and then I kind of, the universe sort of decided to change that path a little bit for me and shake it up. So I had a gorgeous girlfriend of mine come visit in Melbourne, and we wanted to do something different. We wanted to do something exciting. And I was following this woman on Facebook, and she was holding an event called a Yoni Puja. And I was like, oh, don't know what that is, but let's go to that. So we went along, and it was just this really beautiful evening for men and women, and it was just a sacred circle to have a Yoni Puja. So Yoni, of course, is the womb space of the vagina, and Puja is the Sanskrit for like a blessing or an honoring of that thing. So you can have a puja when you move into a new home. You can have a puja to celebrate a marriage, a new baby, whatever it may be. So this puja was to honor the yoni, the feminine. And we went, and it was a live puja. So what that meant was we all sat around in a circle, and there was a throne, if you like. And then a woman got up and took her clothes off and sat in the throne with her legs spread. And that was our live puja that we were honoring in that ceremony. And it just fucking hit me like a ton of bricks. It was so fucking sacred. And one by one, if you felt to, you could go up and sit in front of her, and you could just look. You could honor it however you wanted to. And then in front of her, there was some tantric sacred liquids. So there were honey, yogurt, milk, something else. And you could take a spoonful and pour them over the yoni if you felt called to. And as I sat in front of her and did it when it was my turn, I just bawled my eyes out. I mean, I'm a crier. I cry all the time. So there was no surprise that that was my reaction. And it was just for the first time in my life, even after being a midwife for 10 years and seeing thousands of vaginas, I sat in front of this one and I just could not believe how fucking sacred it was and how powerful it was and how special it was. And I just had this incredible wave of grief come over me for how I haven't treated every single vagina that has come in front of me before like I was in that moment. And it was a huge turning point for me as a midwife. And I just thought, oh my God, this is like, there's no going back from this. This is, you can't undo what I have seen and experienced. So then at the end of that evening, the woman who ran the circle mentioned that so this was December and January, she was running her Yoni Massage practitioner training. And I was like, I need to do that. Again, don't really understand what it's about, but I need to do it. I've never had one, but I'm doing it. And I said to her, have you got any places left? And she said, oh, there's one woman who hasn't paid a deposit yet, but if you can pay the deposit, you're in. And I was like, sweet, here's the money. I'm done. I'm in. I'm doing it. So then the January, I went and did the course, and it was every Sunday for a month. And I learnt Yoni Massage, and it just totally opened my world to Tantra, to sexuality, to just this whole other world of pleasure, of sex, of just the most phenomenal things that I thought I was in touch with myself as a woman, and I thought I had a healthy sex life. And being a midwife, I thought, oh, I'm all over vaginas and naked bodies and sex. Not in this way. Not in this way. How many years ago was this? This was 2.5 years ago, just over 2 years ago now. So not that long ago, really. My world has changed a lot in that time. So, if you're just joining in, if you can just mute yourself, just so we haven't got any background noise or distractions. So that was how I got into it, and it just really opened me up to Tantra, and it really made me look at myself and made me realize how unhealthy my attitude was towards sex, to men, to my pleasure, to my ability to experience pleasure. And so it kind of pushed me on this journey to just really start exploring things that I never had. And as I did that, I experienced both sides, the taboos and the good stuff. So the taboos of being a woman who has sex with lots of men, the judgment that comes with that, the reactions to when you tell people that, and the reactions, it's like there's oh my God, she's saying it out loud, B, she's doing it. Like, whoa. There's really playing with all of that stuff. And it's just been an incredible journey. And then, of course, there was the work that I was doing with women, actually in the sessions, the Yoni Massage itself. And it just every single time blew me away what it could do. And these women, again, were coming into this space completely trusting me. They were getting naked in front of me. They were laying down in front of me and offering their body for me to work with. And just the level of trust that is required for that blew me away every single time. And it just felt like such a fucking privilege, such an honor to be able to do that for these women. And every time it still takes me back to that moment in the Yoni Puja circle where I sat before that live Yoni and just felt that reverence. And I've had sessions with women where I feel like I'm the handmaiden at the feet of a queen and just worshipping her. And it's really taught me this incredible reverence for us as women, for our bodies, for our sex life, for our vaginas, as our spirituality, everything. Like, it's just changed my perspective so much towards who we are as women. Angelique says, as a massage therapist, I understand that surrender and the honor and humility of providing that service. But yeah, absolutely. Totally. Absolutely. Yeah, it's really huge. I mean, you know, people kind of have a pink fit when you ask them to get naked for a normal massage. Like, you want me naked? Come and leave my undies on? So, yeah, getting naked for someone to touch your vagina as well, it's a whole other space. So as I started this work, a lot of people have no idea what the fuck it is. So I found one of the biggest things I had to do was start talking about it, start educating about it. So originally I ran circles, which was basically just run on the theme of what is a yoni massage. And everywhere that I would travel and do the tour, I would run a circle. So women who didn't feel called to or brave enough to step forward and have a session could come into a space and just learn about it, talk about it, and get a feel for it, and get a feel for me, because women really need to trust me as a practitioner to come into the space. So I started running these circles, and I do them wherever I go. And one of them was in my hometown in Queensland. And I'm staying with my parents at the time, and I hadn't really talked to mum or dad that this is what I was doing. She knew I was getting into some new weird stuff, but really for Amy, that's nothing new. So I was running this circle, and mum said to me, "Oh, can I come?" And I just went, "Oh, sure, if you want." She's like, "Oh, I'd really like to hear about what you're doing." And I was like, "Fuck, I'm gonna have to talk about touching women's vaginas in front of my mother." Now, I grew up in a very sex-conservative household. We didn't talk about boyfriends. We weren't allowed to have boyfriends until we were 18. Periods were like, here you go, here's a pad, put it on. Sex didn't exist, none of that stuff. So telling my mum that this is now what I was doing was just like, it gave me palpitations. But I knew that I had no legitimate reason to say no, she couldn't come, and that it was just my fear. So I was like, okay, sure. And then she says, "Can I bring some friends?" Fuck. Sure. So she brings about 3 women who have known me since the day I was born to come and sit in this space to hear me talk about massaging vaginas. And I have to say, I'm so grateful that she did and that happened, because that evening there was probably about 20 women, including my mum and her friends. And my mum was probably the most interactive woman there. She asked the most questions. She gave the most stories about herself growing up, her own relationship with sex. And it was just like, wow. And it really added a whole new dynamic to mine and my mother's relationship that was never, ever there before. So I was so grateful that presented itself, and that I gave myself permission to say yes to that. And it was also a fucking relief, because it was like, oh God, she knows what I do now. Okay. So it was actually really incredible. And one of the other incredible things, that one of the women who came, who was mum's friend, came up to me at the end, and she said, "Have you got any bookings available while you're in town? I would love a massage." And again, this is a woman who is about 65, has known me since the day I was born. I went, okay, let's do it. I have never been so nervous going into a yoni massage session, and just having to really ground myself and focus on holding space for this woman and taking myself out of the picture. And just the trust that she must have had to ask me to do that and to go through with that, of this young woman who she has seen grow up, to surrender to completely and say, "Massage my vagina," was just incredible. And to this day, it was one of the most beautiful massages that I've done. And her matriarch energy that was in her was just profound and so beautiful. So it was such an incredible experience to open yoni massage to that part of my life, to my mum, to my family, and my dad, again, super conservative, a father of 3 daughters, nothing about periods, nothing about sex, nothing about girls. And at first he was a little bit curious. He knew there was something different happening that wasn't midwifery. And he would watch some videos that I put up on Facebook and YouTube. And then when it got too vaginary, every time he would hear me on the computer screen, he'd leave the room. Like, that's okay, Dad. That's fine. We don't need to push that boundary. So that was kind of where it stayed with him, which was comfortable for him. And I thought, that's okay. I'm not going to push that until he's ready. So that was fine. I think what it did also for my sister, with relationship with one of my sisters, it opened up a whole new dialogue around sex, which, again, growing up in a house where we just didn't talk about that stuff. And we had never talked about this stuff as sisters. And all of a sudden we were talking about it. And I noticed that my sister felt comfortable telling me about her sex life with her husband. And at first I was like, oh, fuck, I kind of want to hear this. And I was like, wow, that's a really interesting reaction. So again, every interaction, every conversation, every moment is just showing me fears in myself, subconscious beliefs in myself, and realizing where I'm comfortable and not comfortable in sexuality. And so all of these have just like highlighted massive areas in my life of where I'm holding shit. So now my sister and I, again, we have this very open dialogue about anything and everything. And we talk about her sex life with her husband and their struggles and all of that stuff. So again, it's another relationship that is just totally opened in a way that never would have if I hadn't have done this work. So it really has impacted massively on my family life. And, you know, you also become known as the vagina woman. Like being a midwife, sure, you get it sometimes, but now anyone sees in social media, they tag me. Any vagina, any period thing, anything, you get tagged in it, you get sent it, you get, you know, you're the vagina woman, which is hilarious most of the time. Lisa, I'm listening without headphones any minute now. Josh, who is speaking of what he's speaking about. I'm surprised he hasn't realised already, Lisa. Hi, Josh. Lisa's children have had a vicarious education through me and her interacting over the last couple of years. So the other aspect of my life, or other relationships in my life that this work has had massive impact on, is my own intimate relationships and my own sex life. And it's been really interesting, and still is, on how that plays out. So I, over the years, have on and off been on online dating sites, and it's always been this interesting, again, kind of playing, experimenting. If I proclaim this on my dating profile and seeing the reaction, instant response, oh, she's up for sex. If I mention anything about sexuality, about pleasure, about Yoni Massage, instantly, correlation, she's up for sex. Every single time, 100%. And I find that fascinating that men on dating sites, it's just automatic. That's the correlation that we create, because that's the society we live in. A woman who pursues pleasure is a whore, a slut, a prostitute. Yeah, that's so deeply entrenched in our society, in our upbringing. You know, and I say this all the time, again and again and again, there is no word in the English language to positively describe a woman who pursues pleasure. There's nothing. There's not one. So again, you know, I put that on my profile, and then it's just like, oh, sweet, she's not here for anything serious. She's just up for a shack. 100% of the time. So then I would, you know, not have it on my profile. And then when they say, what do you do? It's like, fuck, okay, how do I approach this? And so I would be upfront and honest, tell them, again, instantly, response, oh, she's here for a shag. So it became really difficult to be open and honest and transparent in the dating world without being judged immediately. What's Lisa saying? I still recall a conversation with my kids we're lucky enough to overhear, as I told Laura when we were driving to Italy about your new butt place. Yes, those are the conversations we have. But yeah, so it's like, how then do I date and be given the opportunity to be open and honest and for seen as who I really am, rather than this slut who's out for lots of sex? Because that's not my intention when I go on these dating sites. There are other websites where you can do that, and I have been there and I have done that, and I have thoroughly fucking enjoyed myself. But as my life has changed and as my needs and wants change, that's not what I'm seeking all of the time. So I then late last year, I went on a dating site and I met a man who, and I think at first my go-to line is, I run a small business. I'm a midwife part-time and I run a small business. It's like, okay, that's that's, you know, people can comprehend that. And then, oh, so what sort of business you do? It's like, okay, so I run online courses to help women look at their relationship to their body, to their sexuality. The minute you put sexuality in there, it piques that, oh, she's all about sex. So it's really difficult finding the wording. But I found this man last year, and I thought, and I just was in one of those moods where it's like, you know what, I don't care. I'm just here to be completely honest. He's either going to own it or he's not. And I told him, and he's like, wow, that's really interesting. Tell me more. It's like, huh, okay. So I did. And what began was this incredibly beautiful relationship. And he lived 3 hours away from me. So there was a lot of talking, chatting before we actually met up. And I didn't tell him at first about the Yoni massage itself, but I said that I run workshops and online courses for women in relationship to their sexuality and about pleasure and their ability to give and receive pleasure, and if they have blockages around receiving pleasure. And he was really super intrigued, and I was like, wow, this man is incredible. I want to get to know him. And we were super compatible, super fast. And we fell into this really quite intense relationship quite quickly. And we met, and on the first date, we agreed that we wouldn't have sex. There would be no sexual intimacy for maybe about 3 months. We said, let's just say 3 months and see how we go. So it really created this space for us to really get to know each other in an incredibly deep way. And I know for some of you who have probably been married for a long time, this sounds like 3 months. My God, I waited whatever. But in this day and age, when it's all online dating and everyone thinks you're up for sex, 3 months is a big deal. Trust me. So, and then what unfolded was this incredible relationship, and he taught me so much about myself. And again, he highlighted deeper areas within myself where I still held fear and belief. And one of the biggest ones was that I could get out there and help all these women ask for what they want in their sex life, and look at where there's gaps in their spirituality and sexuality, and look at how to receive more pleasure and self-pleasure themselves. But I actually still had a lot of blockages around that in myself. And now that I was confronted with this beautiful man who was like, okay, let's do this, I went, oh, fuck. Okay. And he just basically held the space for me to do what I was doing for others. Like the 21-day program that I run, one of the things is conscious breast massage. And he said to me, okay, would you like to do that in front of me? Would you like me to witness you? And the fear that came up in me when he offered that, I was more stunned at how fearful I was than the fear itself. I was like, holy shit, you still got work to do, sister. So it's just incredible how every relationship has just enabled me to shift another layer, another layer, another layer. And so I went to places with him that I have never gone in a relationship before. And because of my work as a Yoni Massage practitioner, I was able to do that. And, you know, we did things together. We had conversations together that I've never had with a man. And he allowed me to, I suppose, play with him and his body and the sacredness of a man's body and lingam massage, because I'm not trained in lingam massage. So lingam is the equivalent of the yoni. It's the penis, and there's a male version, which is lingam massage, and I've never trained in that. So he allowed me the space to experiment with that on him and give him pleasure. I'm getting to that, Angelique. And it was just absolutely beautiful. And we talked about fears and I had this deep, deep yearning to be completely open and honest with him. something that I've never experienced with any other man. It was like I almost couldn't not tell him every single thing that was happening in my body, mind, or spirit. And it was just like I just had to tell him. And can you tell us a little bit about the breast massage? Absolutely. And after I finish this bit. And it was just the most heart and yoni opening relationship that I have ever had. And it got me so excited that, oh my God, it showed me the possibility that I can have it all. I can have the career I want. I can make money doing what I love. I can have this incredible bogan everyday man who has this deep conscious spirituality to him. It's fucking possible. And it was just like, oh my God, I got this glimpse of what it would be like. And then we had this habit of having really deep opening conversations. And we had one day, which obviously struck a deep fear in him. And he couldn't cope with that. And I could see what was happening, just like I see it in my clients. And I offered him space to process that. But he chose to essentially give in to the fear rather than face it. And so he ended the relationship, which was quite devastating because it went very deep and very intense very quickly. And it was basically the fact that he was divorced, he had children, and he had had a vasectomy. And he felt it was not fair to not be able to offer me children, even though I never asked. And so he didn't feel it was fair to keep me in that kind of relationship, which, you know, we could go into that and interpret and pull apart for hours, but we won't. And so he just said, I'm walking away. I said, okay, I'll respect that. And so, of course, I had my own process after that. But I'm so grateful for him and what he showed me is possible and what is capable, because I've always been so torn about conscious spiritual men, and there's a lot of wankery out there, and I'm very cautious of. But at the same time, an everyday bogan bloke is, you know, also hard to deal with. So he had this beautiful balance of the two, which has shown me it's possible. So going back to the breast massage, you know, it is one of the practices that I do in the 21-day program, and it's about honoring our breasts as women, because our yoni is sacred and it's a very important part of us. It's where our creative power comes from. It's where our intuition comes from, our emotions, all of that stuff. But it's on the inside. Yeah, our vaginas go inwards. They go into us. Men's penises are on the outside. They're very visible. They're a bulge in their pants. They're external. Our breasts are that equivalent. Our breasts are the only part of us that is visible to the world, and our breasts are connected to our sex. They are part of our sexual reproductive system, and they also sit right on our heart chakra, on our heart's intelligence. So they're like this incredible, beautiful meeting of those two aspects of us, our heart's intelligence and the power of our divine feminine. And again, you look at breasts, look at all the shit that is around our breasts. You know, too much cleavage, you're a slut. Big boobs, you're a slut. Small boobs, you're a boy. Like, there's just so much shit around breasts. Breastfeeding in public. Like, how many women get abused and kicked out and shunned and shamed for breastfeeding in public? Like, just feeding their child, for God's sake. So there's so much around breasts. Every woman has a story about her breasts. Mine are too big, they're too saggy, my nipples point outwards, my nipples point inwards, my nipples are a funny shape. Every woman has a story about her breasts. So I felt it was really important to incorporate that into my 21-day program. So then I guide women through a breast massage, which is basically, I really like to use music because it just creates that beautiful space, and atmosphere allows you to close your eyes and drop in. And oil, lots and lots and lots of your favorite oil, coconut, almond, whatever you like, and just massage. And it's just moving your hands over your body, giving attention to each breast, and like really running your hands around your breast, cupping the breast, feeling the texture changes in the skin from the nipple to the breast tissue, feeling the sensation as you do that, closing your eyes, up your neck, just all over. And just seeing how that feels. And it's one of the most beautiful, incredible experiences you can give yourself. I do have a video on my YouTube channel of me doing one. And when I did it live on my Facebook page, it got me banned for 30 days. Because even though, like, you could probably see there on me, which, like, you know, not a lot, but the whole idea was just too sensual and too graphic for Facebook. So it got removed and I got banned for 30 days. So it is on my YouTube channel if you want to go and have a look. Just have a look at, I think, conscious breast massage is what I've called it. But it is an incredible practice for women, which takes me to another thing, Facebook. Which just, you know, as part of doing this work, doing anything sexual based, social media is, you know, there's lots of women here who are entrepreneurs and run their own businesses. It's a really important platform. It's an incredible, important marketing platform to get yourself visible, to be out there in the world. But Facebook have a massive, healthy sexual relationship phobia. And anybody who has any kind of sexual based work has a rough time with Facebook. I've been banned, like, I don't know, I've lost count so many times. I'm obviously on a blacklist now because if I post something, like, literally within 2 seconds, it gets banned and blocked. And I'm now up to the point where I get banned for 30 days at a time, which is really shit for business. No, Facebook does not play nicely. And they have very clear community standards and guidelines about nudity and da-da-da-da-da, except it just never ceases to amaze me. There's so much out there with pornography and all this shit that seems to get around those. Yet I post a picture of, I don't know, a woman's butt and I get blocked. So that is a big thing in doing this work and being a Yoni massage practitioner. It's like strategically getting your message out there because, like I said, the marketing is so important, but also just having the conversations with women. And that's why I do this stuff on Zoom, because it's not on Facebook. It's not anywhere that's going to be screened or vetted, or it's, you know, completely free. So it is challenging. And Instagram, we're also doing a crackdown on any sexual based businesses or accounts, and they were just basically wiping them, deleting whole accounts if they were in any way, shape or form sexually based. Thank goodness mine has still intact, but I see lots of people saying so-and-so has been deleted, so-and-so has been blocked, and it's really difficult because how else do we get the word out there, and how else do we educate people and lift those taboos and change anything in society if this is what's happening? Finding alternative platforms, yeah, totally. Except the shitty thing is Facebook is so fucking popular and everyone around the world has it, and it is the #1 marketing platform for business. So you kind of got to work within that. And I got banned yesterday, day before, but Facebook have actually changed, and they give you an option when they block you to say, do you agree or disagree? Would you like a review? And they've never had that before. And I was able to say, I want a review. And within about 30 minutes, it had been reviewed, and they said, sorry, we've made a mistake, you're back online. And I was like, oh, fucking hallelujah. Thank you, Facebook. So that's new, which I think will make a big difference. So what else? I was just thinking, I got quite off track with what I was talking about there. So this work has had a huge impact on my intimate relationships, my sexual relationships. I went through a big phase of experimenting with men. I wanted to see what was possible, to see what kind of interactions I could have with men, and what were my boundaries, what were my comfort zones, what were my fears. I really wanted to explore with what turns me on, what gives me pleasure. How terrified am I to speak up and ask of what I want with a man? So I'm single, and so my way of doing that was to have sex with lots of men. And so I did. And I think in hindsight, some of it was healthy, some of it was unhealthy. There was a whole range of experimentation in that. But I learned a lot about myself, and it really made a big impact on my relationship with my body the most. Being a bigger woman, Like, I think in the whole 2 years I've been absorbed in this world, I think I've seen 2 other larger women in the sexual tantric world. And, you know, that in itself is a massive thing. And I see women comment all the time on things like nude yoga. There's a woman, Rosie Rees, who does nude yoga, and people comment and say, oh, everyone goes, who's those beautiful skinny women, I'm too big, I don't want to go. And it's that kind of stuff that's like, that's, you know, what we need to try and address and break down, is that this work is for everyone. So being a bigger woman in this world, I want to give that a voice. I want to give that a platform and be visible in that. And so I try and do that as best I can while abiding by the standards to show people that, you know, it doesn't fucking matter what you look like, who you are. You have this ability to receive and give and experience pleasure. And there's so much out there that you can experience, and beautiful things. And Yoni Massage has taught me that. And it's one of the things I love, is just showing the woman what can feel beautiful on her body, just using this touch called Oxytocin Touch, where you just very lightly run your fingers over her body, like in the creases of her elbow, or on the backs of her knees, or around the creases of the buttocks, and just all these beautiful things of just that can give you the most beautiful pleasure and sensations. And, you know, pubic hair, oh my God. Before I did Yoni Massage, I can't believe I used to do this. I used hair removal cream. I can't remember what it's called now. The cream that you put on, it basically dissolves the hair and you wipe it off. Like, holy shit, toxic, like paint thinner. And because men that I was particularly sleeping with, yes, liked no pubic hair. You know, a smooth vagina was sexy, and that was commonly what men were asking for. Deploratory. I don't know what that is. So I did that for years and years and years and years and years. And then when I started doing Yoni Massage, and of course, all kinds of women came to me, so all different vaginas. And being a midwife, I never really paid attention because it wasn't relevant. But doing Yoni Massage, one of the things that you can do is you play with the pubic hair. And in doing that, it was just so pleasurable to see her get pleasure out of it. And just, you know, running your hands through the hair and moving the hair and just seeing how she would respond. I was like, oh my God, pubic hair is fucking awesome. I want my bush back. So I did. And now I have it. And I absolutely love it. And it's given me so much confidence to claim her and own her. And when I have sexual interactions with men, it's like I make it known that I love it. And I love them to play with it and to enjoy it. And, you know, and that's the normal. That's the way my body grows and was created. And so I'm really had a journey of just embracing that on its own. So, you know, again, Yoni Massage gave me that gift of my own body. So it's, you know, becoming okay with who I am has been a massive, massive result of being a Yoni Massage practitioner. Like, and I see it when I have these conversations with women and they start to realize the hang-ups they have about themselves, the limits that they have on their beliefs. And, you know, and I was saying this to Lisa yesterday, when I talk about this work, there's kind of 3 reactions. There's the one that's, oh, wow, that's so fascinating. Tell me more, and all the questions, and There's the one that's like, oh, that's kind of interesting, but I'm not really going to ask anything because there's a lot of processing going on up here. And then there's the, oh, yeah, there's a bird over there. I'm just going to go over here. And they're gone. They're the general reactions. And you gauge very quickly about who to interact with about it and who not to. And sometimes I need to, I suppose, be aware of myself and observe when I'm resisting talking to someone about it, or when it's their resistance in talking about it. Because I still have situations where I'm hesitant to claim what I do. And I think one of them You talk about your work so deeply. Oh, beautiful. Good. I'm glad it comes across that way. One of the places that I'm really hold back on what I do is at work, is when I am a midwife. And I found early in the days, some of the people that had the strongest reactions to what I was doing was midwives, which really still astounds me. And gorgeous Kate, who is here, is a midwife who I have worked with many years ago. And I couldn't believe that midwives were horrified at this work. I was like, come on, guys, we do a version of this every day. So I'm really hesitant to talk about it at work. And one of the biggest reasons is because a year and a half ago, when I was still based in Melbourne, someone, I don't know, it was completely anonymous, reported me to the registration organisation for health professionals for midwifery, and basically made a notification that I was practicing as a midwife and offering or selling Yoni Massage as a midwifery service, and that was very dangerous, and that I was working with junior and student midwives, and I was a bad influence, and I was a danger to the profession. So that was a big, steep learning curve for me. And I know it was connected to other stuff and another place that I worked, and I've no idea who it was. I will never know, but it really doesn't matter. And so I had to then go through a process of justifying why I do and how it's not a midwifery service. And I had to get legal advice and change the wording on my website. And I clearly state this is not a midwifery service. And for that reason, I no longer offer massage to pregnant women. It's just not worth it. Which really saddens me, because I know how fucking valuable this is for pregnant women. And it's so important, but I no longer offer that for that reason. So I don't talk about it when I go to work, because I travel a lot and I work in a lot of different places. So I don't go into places where people don't know me and start talking about it for that reason. But most other settings, I'm pretty open with what I do. Just going to catch up with the comments. Lisa, in the 12-week program, I remember the reaction of loving the idea or the thought of something reality, of claiming it in my own life. Absolutely. In modern midwifery, strongly embedded in the patriarchal world of the current model. Abso-fucking-lutely. Like, hugely. Hugely. Kate, unbelievable. I know that would be complete rubbish. Absolutely. Total fucking rubbish. But you've got to jump through the hoops, right? So most of the settings, I am pretty open with what I do. So there's a lot of pros and cons to doing it. There's a lot of judgment. You can feel, and yes, this may be partly my fear, but you can feel people judging you. Like, I've been asked that many fucking times, oh, so are you a lesbian? No, I am not. Even if I was, that would have nothing to do with it. Shannon, it's heartbreaking when your integrity is called into question, especially when you have a flight. Exactly. It is really heartbreaking. But I just stick to my higher vision, and I stick to my purpose and why I'm doing this in the first place. And I just trust that will carry me and hold me through anything that I may be presented with. But yeah, so I remember what I was saying before that. Yeah, it's just finding those places and spaces and realizing, again, every day, my own new limits, my own fears around this work. And, one of my newest fears is launching it into the world as practitioner training. So me now teaching women to do this as practitioners, and really pulling apart my journey and what the hurdles are. So, visibility as a woman in sexual body work is huge for a lot of women. And, being that woman, and I still do vet what I put on my personal midwifery page, because there's a lot of judgment out there, and some people get it and some people don't. And I've had some gorgeous personal family friends say to me, oh, aren't you going a bit far with this now? No. There's still a lot further to go. Lisa, it's so difficult for many people to understand the difference between something that honors and enhances a woman's sexuality versus something that is sexual in itself. Exactly. And that's it. Like, in a nutshell, that's the issue. And that's why we need to have these conversations, so that we start to understand that more and pull it apart more. So, you know, why do I do it? You know, there's all of this shit that goes with it. There's all of the hassle, there's all of the controversy, there's all of the judgment, there's all of the shame, but I still do it. And I do it because I love it. It's fucking powerful. It's, you know, it's controversial, and there's the little cheeky part of me that just fucking loves being controversial and rubbing people up the wrong way. But it just makes a huge difference for women. And I get thanked, I don't know how many times a week, for doing the work that I do and having the courage to do this when other people can't and don't. And that's why I keep going, because every single woman that thanks me for it, I know I have made a difference for her. I know I have made a difference in a woman's life. Every woman who comes into a session, does a course with me, it changes her in some way. I've been to dinner parties where we just sit and have the conversation, and you just see they start thinking. Things start ticking over. Seed is planted. Other conversations filter out. Like I teach a module on spirituality and sexuality now in the 3rd level for the Institute of Intuitive Intelligence. And the homework for that, just the ripple effect, blew me away the first time I did it. It was just like, and that was such a small, simple thing that they had to do, but the flow-on effect was massive. And that's why I do it, because it actually makes a tangible, palpable impact. I have women who can now orgasm because of the work they've done with me. I have women who can now squirt because of the work they've done with me. I have women who have left marriages, left unhealthy marriages because of the work they've done with me. I've had women heal and create amazing, incredible relationships because of the work. I've had women who have healed trauma and moved on to other things because of this work. It's just endless. And that's why I do it. That's why I keep going. That's why I keep getting okay with being banned from Facebook and putting myself out there and meeting my own fears, because about a year ago, I realized, as much as it's all about me, it's really not about me at all. And that's why I keep doing it. I kind of don't have a choice. Just reading the comments. Is there anything that we as individuals can do to make a small difference? Have the conversations. Talk about it. Talk about it with your girlfriends. Like, one of the biggest things is, whenever we talk about anything to do with our bodies or sexuality, even just with girlfriends, there's always that line that we don't cross. We'll say this much, but then we stop because we're not going to tell her that bit. Go to that bit, cross that line, say that stuff, start opening that deeper channel of conversation with the people in your lives, so that it starts to become okay, so that it starts to make people aware that it makes them uncomfortable. And why is that? And, oh yeah, let's talk about that some more. Oh, I know Sinead's that chick that I can talk about that stuff with. I'm going to ring her, whatever it may be. Like, start having those conversations with your partners. Next time you have an intimate interaction, do something you wouldn't normally. Ask something you wouldn't normally. Say something you wouldn't normally. A beautiful thing to do for couples after having sex is to lay there afterwards and say to them what you really loved about what just happened. And it could be something as simple as, I really loved it when you kissed my neck when we were in that position. It just made me feel so good and turned me on. What did you love? And just that one simple thing makes them go, oh, I pleased her, I pleasured her, and it makes them feel good, and you get more of it. Yeah, and by having that interaction after sex is an incredible opener for relationships. So there's all these little things where you can just start planting seeds, having conversations. Like, you don't have to physically do anything. You just can talk. It's, you know, there's so much that you can do. Just see. This is why I'm here. Oh, thanks, Angelique. It does take courage. It does, you know, and I think that's part of who I am. And that's part of why I was the midwife that I was for 10 years, because I have that in me, because I know how important it is for women. Like, I did home birth, even though it was controversial and not supported and all of that shit, because I knew how important it was for women. So I went from one controversial, unsupported industry to another. It's just what I do. But you know that all of you have done the show. Yeah, absolutely, Angelique. I really like that idea, being open about what they did and said. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Try it. And then when you do, notice if it brings up any fear as you do, or notice the flow on reaction. Like, as you're about to say it, notice if it gives you butterflies, or you choke up a little bit, or chicken out. And go, oh, that's interesting that I responded that way. And, you know, even for those of you that have children, having the conversation with children, the birds and the bees, periods, all that stuff. Like, noticing how you feel as you approach those conversations. And intimate stuff with your partner or partners or whatever it is that you have, just noticing how you're responding to that stuff. Alrighty, has anybody got any questions or anything at all that they would like to say? Everything is welcome, and feel free to unmute yourself. You don't just have to chat. Yes, Lisa stirs her stuff. Thank you, Sinead.
Okay, can I jump in?
Absolutely, please do.
Okay, so I've got you know, your standard girlfriends who is what you said before, like, you know, you have a level or a line where you know you talk but you don't cross that line. So what would your opening conversation be if you wanted to show them that, you know, I'm not totally woo-woo and crazy and wear henna all the time and things like that? How do I tell them that it's okay to have those conversations and talk? Yeah. What would your opening line be?
Well, I mean, tonight is perfect. So next time you see your girlfriends, you can say, oh, I went to this free webinar the other night with this woman who was talking about doing Yoni Massage, and it was incredible, and because she's so amazing. And and you know, she talked about how we don't talk about sex in society, and how when we talk to our girlfriends, there's always this line, like literally you can say this to them. And then, you know, and just say, and I noticed that in myself, and I noticed that when we talk, you know, I don't share blah 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 blah. I don't share about my periods. I don't share that I love anal sex. I don't share whatever it may be. And you can just use that moment to blurt it out. And, you know, if it makes you feel safer, you can say, you know, saying those things scares the shit out of me because I'm terrified you're going to judge me. But I want to start having those conversations and opening those lines of communication. Like, you know, use this as your starter. Use it as the platform to have that conversation, whatever it may be that you want to talk about. And, you know, it doesn't have to be sex-based. Like, it can be body love, like about our boobs or our butts or our tummies or whatever it may be.